Have you ever waited weeks to receive a medical result? Julia Cheek did too, and it wasn't just any wait. She underwent medical tests, paid thousands of dollars, and still received confusing, incomplete, and late results. That frustration became the beginning of a multi-million-dollar business that today is revolutionizing the way we take care of our health without leaving home for a test. This is the story of EverlyWell and the woman who made it possible. Julia is originally from Dallas, Texas, in the United States, and after working in consulting and social projects, she fell ill and faced slow and expensive medical processes. At the end, I had a 25-page report full of confusing black and white numbers with no follow-up from my doctors, and I spent an entire night Googling what those markers meant. I was also on a high-deductible insurance plan, and the test cost around $2,000 in total. That's when she had an epiphany. What if she could take the test at home without having to go to the doctor? With that idea in mind, Julia began researching the laboratory testing market. She discovered a sector dominated by giants like LabCorp and Quest Diagnostics, with outdated processes that were not patient-focused. There's an opportunity here, she thought with excitement. Without experience in healthcare, but with unshakable determination, Julia decided to embark on the adventure of creating EverlyWell. EverlyWell is a platform that sends a medical diagnostic kit directly to your home. To get the kit, you go to their website, fill out a form with your information, and choose the test. You can take thyroid, hormone, intolerance, vitamin tests, among others. You simply register it online, follow the instructions to collect the sample, such as blood drops, saliva, urine, or swab. Send it back with the included label, and within a few days, you'll receive clear results on your phone, all without leaving home. The first months were a whirlwind. Julia visited labs, spoke with health regulation experts, and looked for investors willing to bet on her vision. Many rejected her, arguing that it was too risky or that she wasn't the right profile. "You don't know anything about healthcare," some told her. But Julia didn't give up. "If I worried that 99% of people thought the company wouldn't work, then I wouldn't have founded it." She began self-learning. She used her savings, her connections, and raised funds such as $25,000 in a startup competition. In 2015, she founded EverlyWell in Dallas and later moved its headquarters to Austin. In 2016, EverlyWell launched its first at-home test kits. The public response was overwhelming. Thousands of people like Julia, frustrated with the traditional healthcare system, saw EverlyWell as an accessible and convenient alternative. The company grew quickly, from 2 to 50 employees in less than 2 years. In 2017, EverlyWell was selected to appear on the US television program Shark Tank, where entrepreneurs seek investment from renowned investors. Julia asked for $1 million for 5% of her company. Although several investors dropped out, Lori Greiner believed in her idea and offered that amount as a line of credit, charging 8% interest in exchange for that percentage. One of the highest figures ever offered to a female entrepreneur on the show at that time. Julia had to fight to prove the validity and safety of her tests. As EverlyWell expanded, Julia faced new challenges. Managing a fast-growing team, negotiating with investors, and constant innovation in a highly regulated industry tested her leadership skills. At this point in the story, it's important to reflect on business opportunities in the health sector. If a country like the United States presents such shortcomings, it's easy to imagine the situation elsewhere. In many countries, some medical processes are slower or even inaccessible. But today, when home deliveries are so common, that pain point can be turned into an opportunity. If you think it would be great to have a kit like this for a problem you're facing right now or have identified in your daily life, tell us in the comments. This channel is a space for female entrepreneurship, and your idea could inspire many more women to take the first step or to feel accompanied on their entrepreneurial journey. Click the subscribe button to keep discovering and getting inspired by more stories with a woman's name. I had the idea that Americans need to take responsibility for all their healthcare expenses, so I thought people would be willing to pay out of pocket for a digital testing experience. I felt we had the opportunity to offer price transparency and accessibility. The year 2020 marked a turning point for EverlyWell. The COVID-19 pandemic skyrocketed the demand for at-home testing, and Julia's company was perfectly positioned to respond. It took about an hour. It was one of the fastest and easiest decisions made in the history of the company. Within weeks, they developed and launched a COVID-19 test kit, becoming one of the first companies to offer this service at home. It was like riding a roller coaster, Julia would say later. Suddenly, everyone was talking about us. We had orders from all over the country, even from the federal government. The pressure was enormous, but Julia and her team were ready for the challenge. EverlyWell's success during the pandemic catapulted the company to new heights. In 2021, the company officially became a unicorn, a term used for privately held startups valued at $1 billion or more. Julia, the young entrepreneur who had started with an idea in her apartment, now led one of the most promising digital health companies in the country. But success brought new responsibilities and ethical dilemmas. How to balance growth with the original mission of making healthcare more accessible. How to protect user privacy in an increasingly digital world. Julia faced decisions that could affect the lives of millions of people. It's their stories that motivate us to build a world where everyone can access affordable, revealing, life-changing lab tests. However, not everyone shared her optimism. Critics in the medical industry warned about the risks of self-diagnosis and the potential misinterpretation of results. Julia and her team had to work hard to prove the reliability of their tests and to educate users on how to interpret results correctly. EverlyWell services are available within the United States, with a presence in Puerto Rico, Canada, and the US Virgin Islands. Julia has received recognition worldwide. Fortune magazine, famous for its rankings of people and companies, included her in its annual 40 Under 40 list, highlighting influential people under that age. She also appeared in Forbes magazine as one of the 10 women to watch. Julia believed, worked, and defended her idea until she achieved global success. But what if the next step wasn't just continuing to send kits, but taking technology into the realm of proactive prevention, combining data, artificial intelligence, and personalized medicine? That's what's coming next, and it could be another story to tell very soon. And to close this story, let Julia herself remind us of the value of our voice and work in the entrepreneurial world. She said it clearly. I didn't want to be labeled as a female founder. I wanted to be labeled as a founder, period. But I also recognize the importance of representation of women in business. A phrase that sums up not only her philosophy, but also the reason why here we tell stories with a woman's name. Click the subscribe button to continue discovering and getting inspired by more stories with a woman's name.